What's going on, everyone? It is Nihon Rebooted, and there's actually a topic that I wanted to talk about. Lately, I've been thinking a lot about my life in Japan, and honestly, I think I've been taking it really for granted. I've made videos actually quite recently about me complaining about Japan, like the things that I don't like about it, and especially the salary, which for teaching is garbage, and it still is, and will forever be. But in the past month or so, ever since everything shut down, I've had time to study and get new certifications in IT, and I might be able to land a position soon, and by soon I mean like early next year, over in Tokyo, which will double, almost triple my salary, and I can just live in Saitama, and I'll have a much better life down here. But I wanted to talk about the safety today, the good points about Japan, and due to recent events, as you guys know, with Corona, and especially with the rioting, I've been watching this from afar, mostly through live streams because I can't be there to personally experience this. It's insane, the things that I've seen on the live streams. Like, at times it feels like I'm watching some Hollywood movie, just because like the reality is it's unbelievable, the things that I've been watching. And I've seen tons upon tons of police brutality in the past couple of days, and it really got me thinking, like, in Japan, we don't really have that, and the racism here is very low. Like, there are certain things like landlords that can deny you living in their apartments because they don't want to deal with foreigners, but oftentimes it's not because they hate foreigners, it's because they don't know English, and it's a lot of hassle to try to communicate, and so they'd rather just not go through with that, and I can understand that and respect that. But other than that, there really isn't much here in terms of like racism towards foreigners and just danger towards foreigners in general. Like, I've been here 5 years now, and I've never once felt like worried about my life. I grew up in Florida, and during my time in Gainesville, which is where I went to college, my next door neighbor was gunned down. I never told anybody this. My parents that are probably watching this are like, what? But yeah, my next door neighbor got gunned down. It was a very terrifying experience. And then, especially at night, on campus, there wasn't really much of a issue with the University of Florida. It felt pretty safe there. But I lived off of Archer Road, and going into Butler Plaza from my apartment complex, it was about maybe a 5 or 6 minute walk, and I was on constant alert. There was so much going on in the neighborhood surrounding. Another neighbor, you can hear them screaming, and you can hear him beating up his wife. He eventually got arrested, but you would hear it happen every day when I moved down there. The apartment complex next over, they had those guys that for some reason they like to just blast their music from their car speakers so loud that it shakes your entire apartment. Like, these things, you just, like, it's not really fun because you can't just go over there, or you can, but in the middle of the night, you don't know what that guy's capable of. He could have a gun on him, and you don't want to tell him, hey, can you lower your music? You have to just straight up call the cops. And from my experience, the cops never really came. Like, they're like, okay, we'll go down there and check it out, and sometimes they did, sometimes they didn't. But yeah, I've never had any of those problems here in Japan. Like, it's been peaceful, quiet. I haven't had much discrimination towards me like I've had in America, and in Japan that's never really been the case here. None of the landlords have denied me rent. I've been denied like being able to do monthly installments on paying off a phone, but that applies to all foreigners in general, because if you have to buy it up front unless you're married to a Japanese person, pretty much, mainly because you can just buy the phone, do a monthly plan, and then immediately bail like 2 weeks later, and then they lose their money. So I could see why they do that. But yeah, it's a very safe place here. You don't have to worry about getting jumped in the middle of the night. You don't have to worry about crime. It's a nice place, Japan is. This has really got me thinking about, do I just want to stay in Japan for the rest of my life now? Because realistically, over the past few years, America hasn't really given me a reason to go home outside of a higher salary. So, I mentioned earlier, I got those IT certifications, and once I finish getting them, if I land the job in America, I'll be making roughly triple or double or triple than what I would make in the same exact position in Tokyo. But is it really worth it? You know, the trading off that safety just for money. And for a while I was thinking, yeah. But now, as of lately, I really don't know. It's a very difficult question. You know, of course my family is down there. My friends are down there. And I definitely want to see them, and I do worry about them in current situations. But at the same time, I think, do I give up the freedom that I have here, the safety that I have here, to go back to America? You know, it's difficult. It's a very, very difficult issue. It's not a simple yes and no. There's just so many variables, and it's definitely troubling at times. In Japan, we've opened everything up as of the 1st of this month, and everyone's gone back to their normal lives. The situation with the virus was kept under control, and as from a very, very early point, you know, Japan took serious action in shutting down the schools and a lot of stores to keep the virus down. And the Japanese people, they have a mentality where it's a group mentality versus an individualism mentality, and that really helps because they think a lot about others. And so, you know, Abe said, hey, Golden Week is coming up. Golden Week is basically spring break for Japan. And he said, hey, please stay home. And the Japanese listened. And when I went out once, and when I went out, like, all of the tourist areas looked like ghost towns. It was crazy. The bridge in Osaka, Dotonbori, Namba, they were pretty much empty, and a lot of the stores were closed too. The trains were empty for the most part. You know, they listened to that, and because of this, the virus was kept heavily under control. And now, where everyone's opened up, we're all back to our normal lives. The only difference is literally every single person is wearing a mask. I think I'm the only one currently that I've seen today that isn't wearing a mask, and I'm gonna wear a mask as soon as I finish recording this video. You know, literally everybody has a mask. It's crazy. So you don't really have to worry much about the virus. And I really don't think there's gonna be a second wave. And if there is a second wave, I'm not gonna be worried about it because I know that Japan has, you know, shown that they can take care of controlling the virus. I've definitely come to the realization this year how lucky I am to live in Japan, to be in this life. Yes, my apartment is super small. Yeah, I have to deal with BS visa stuff every year, but I wouldn't have made it this far on my own if I didn't come to Japan. When I think about it deep down, you know, I wasn't able to stay by myself in America. I had to have roommates. I couldn't afford medical insurance. Here in Japan, medical is so cheap. You know, I can afford it. I have a very cheap apartment that's affordable. My salary is on the lower end, but it's sustainable. You know, and I can live a nice, safe life. I don't know if I can give it up. Like, I've been here 5 years now, and I've reached a point where Japan really does feel like my home. Of course, there are times where I get upset and I make rant videos complaining, or I make complaints. But at the end of the day, this is an amazing country, especially for minorities. You know, the freedom, the privilege that we actually have as foreigners is amazing. The freedom that we have here feels, for me, much better than that of America. I feel much more free here in Japan than I do in America. Anyways, that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about. But I have definitely a new respect for Japan, a much higher respect, and for what they've actually been able to offer me as a foreigner, the life that I've been able to live. You know, I've definitely been taking it for granted, and I'm gonna try my best to just start going out more, interacting with the people, helping the community, doing what I can as a foreigner in Japan. You know, doing what I can. Anyways, this video is getting a little bit long, so I'm gonna stop here, but thank you guys a lot for watching. Anyways, I'm out. Good luck.